So I got some questions on here. What's up? I thought I'd answer some Q&As for you guys and see what's going on. So on this beautiful day, blazing hot, got my car today, it was 115 degrees. What's up? This is a good question. What's up? A great question here. What do you say to a seller? We got some questions I went there and asked. So what do you say to a seller when they ask what your plans are with the property? So I think that's a good question to start with. So when you're talking to a seller and the seller wants to know what you're doing with the property, we actually have it in our contract, and I actually showed you the contract yesterday. And we'll post that video eventually up in YouTube up there. But if you search our YouTube channel at Flip2Freedom. But what we say to a seller when they're asking what we're going to do to the property, I say, listen, we don't know what we're going to do with the property right at this moment in time. We don't know if we're going to fix the property and sell it, fix it up and sell it. We don't know if we're going to rent the property. We don't know if we're going to flip the property quick to one of our buyers. We don't know what we're going to do essentially. We could use it for your VRBO. We don't know exactly what we're going to do with this specific property, but all we know is that we're here as real estate investors to make a profit. So yeah, definitely go check out Flip2Freedom. Do you have training from REI Automator? Yes, we have an entire training in our Flip2Freedom Academy that shows you how to use REI Automator to generate $5,000 as fast as humanly possible. What list to pull, how to target it, how to use the skip tracing, how to use the mail, the whole entire thing inside the training there. So when it comes to talking to a seller, I'm straight up with a seller. I'm going to show them, say, listen, we're an investor and we're here to make a profit. So when we're talking to them and we tell them we don't know exactly what we're going to do with the property, we could flip it wholesale and turn around and sell it to a buyer. Who knows what we're going to do? The bottom line is, Mr. Seller, is that guess what? We agreed on a price and we agreed on a time frame. That's the most important thing. What we do with the property after the case is pretty much irrelevant. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Seller? And what happens is, in that particular case, now you're getting an agreement with the seller on that particular scenario. When I drive by an abandoned home, how do you find the owner? Great question. Use the app called Deal Machine. Deal Machine. It's an iPhone app, has an Android app called Deal Machine. Now, here's the cool thing. Deal Machine, you can take a picture of the property, and you can have it send them a postcard. Then it can skip trace the seller and give you the phone numbers of the seller, and you can pick up and you can call them right there on the spot. So what we do is we have Deal Machine, and we have the I guess I don't know what the name of the account is, but it's the admin account. We have all these users under us that are using the Deal Machine, and they're putting properties in the Deal Machine, and we pay for every time they put out a postcard. So we have JV people using our Deal Machine app, going around taking pictures of sellers, and they're putting it in there, and we can actually trace back that deal to a potential JV person we're working with. How much do you pay a realtor? How do you pay a realtor that feeds us a listing? That feeds you a listing? How much do we pay a realtor feeds us a listing we contract? So remember, let's say you have a listing, right? And you have a property, that property is listed and the seller signs a contract, and that contract with the agent saying they're going to pay 6%, a buyer's commission, and they're going to pay a listing commission. So that's 6%. So that seller is paying the agent the commission. So your question was, how do you pay a real estate agent that feeds you a listing that you contract, right? So they have a listing, this seller is paying the commission, so you don't have to pay a commission on that. Great question though. What is the least targeted list in Phoenix? I'm trying to do what people don't do. Great question. I don't know if I should tell you, but I'll tell you anyways because I don't believe in competition. All right. The least targeted list, pretty much all across the entire country, can be found in listsource.com. And the list is called the unknown list, right? What happens is if you go into a database and you go into ListSource and you pull all the pre-foreclosures, or if you pull all the properties that are 1975 with 30% equity or 50% equity, or 90% equity, or properties that are older houses that haven't transacted in the last, say, 10 years, what happens is you're putting a filter in the database, and it's now only pulling data that comes up that matches those filters. So your question is, how do you pull a list that nobody else is touching? It's called the unknown list. And the unknown list is you go in and you go unknown, right? Unknown. And it's going to be ownership, right? Unknown ownership. So you're not going to know how many years it's a property's owned. That's an unknown item. You also can go in and put unknown equity, right? So you have no idea how much equity is in the property. So now it's going through the entire database and it's pulling all the unknown data. Now the unknown data are because that's like a hidden list inside of ListSource right now, and it's a hidden list because when you put a filter on that list, it's only pulling out the filtered information, but no one's pulling that unknown data, and it's a really, really interesting, good list to hit that you want to target. So that's found in listsource.com. I'm actually working with REI Automator right now to develop that list inside REI Automator and make that available for you and I on an easy way, because it's pretty difficult inside of ListSource to be able to pull that list data. Here's another list. It's called the third address list. So when you skip trace a property, you're going to have the owner, right? The owner, like the mailing address, the property address, and there's a third address. That third address, we mail that third address. That third address, no one really mails in the business, right? That's the third address. So check that out too. Those are two good lists. All right, what other questions you got? Will the cash buyer want to walk to the property before buying your wholesale deal? It depends how good your pictures are, and it depends if you have a video, right? So most 99.9% of the buyers are going to want to see the property prior to actually closing on the transaction, unless there's only the one unless there's a massive amount of equity, and there's so much equity in the property that it literally will cover up all mistakes. And if you have enough pictures and the guy can do a drive-by, then a seller won't want to go look at the property. So if I have a smoking deal and there's a ton of equity in the property, then a buyer won't want to look at the property. So what we try to do is take 30 to 50 pictures of the good, the bad, and the ugly. If we can get a video, we'll get a video. And then what we'll do is we'll send it out to our buyers. And now what happens is we had a property actually we're closing on this week, and the seller did not want to let anybody in the house, right? She didn't want to let anybody in the house at all. She's like, you guys walked in, you had that. Now, and our sales guy at the time didn't make it clear for us to complete our file. We had to have access to the property. So it's been very difficult going back and forth with this seller to try to get someone in the property. So what we did is we contracted the highest and best offer. We got a fully refundable deposit upon interior inspection. We had them drive by the property. We had them do all the numbers, and we gave them the 30 to 40 pictures. And we said, listen, you have to be 99.9% there, right? And then what we'll do is get you into the property, and then I want you to sign off on the contingency. The non-refundable money will go hard, and then we can get the deal done. And oh, by the way, we have a backup buyer that's going to be purchasing the property too if you back out. Oh, by the way, too, Our Extreme Freedom Live 2019 tickets are being released Thursday at 5 p.m. ExtremeFreedomLive.com. Extreme Freedom Live. It's the premier wholesaling event of the entire year. We get all the big influencers together. Max Maxwell is going to be there. Scott Utz is going to be there. James Hawk is going to be there. Alex Youngblood is going to be there. Carlos Reyes is going to be there. You're going to have all these top influencers are going to be speaking, and it's all systematically broken down for Extreme Freedom, basically broken down to get you through the 4 phases of freedom. Each person's going to take a chunk of what they're best at and share what they're best at. Make sure you go to Extreme Freedom, to Extreme Freedom Live. Ticket sales go on sale on Thursday at 5 p.m. You're not going to want to miss it because it's a first come, first served basis, number one, and all the seats are assigned seating. So that means, just like a movie theater, if you want to be close to the stage, you got to go in there and get your tickets. Will cash buyers want to walk through? Yes. I'm down 10K in marketing without a deal. Let's talk about that. Okay. So let's say it's not working. So my first thing I would do with you, number one, is ask this question, Anthony, is I would say, you drop 10K on marketing, it's not working. How can we fix it? What's the fastest path to fixing it? And how can you make money? So you spent 10K, you got leads coming in. My first question is, have you made written offers on every single lead? Yes or no? And if it's no, I want you to go back and I want you to contact every single lead that came in, and I want you to go back and I want you to offer on those leads. The second reason why someone doesn't get a deal and they spend $10,000 on marketing and they don't get a deal is because they offer too low to a seller. They offer too low. So the bottom line is that you're getting outbid by someone else in your marketplace. For an example, if you use 70% less repairs, less fee, right? And now you have a $100,000 house at 70%, $70,000, less $10,000 of repairs, less $10,000 of fee. You're down to a $50,000 offer. And I come in and I know the market and I know how robust the market is, and I can offer for the same property 65 to 70,000, and I know I can sell it at 75, 80 grand. Well, guess what? I'm going to outbid your offer and you're not going to win. I don't care how much money you spend in marketing. If you offer too low on a property, you're not going to get a deal. So the first thing I would do is look at all the leads that you have got with the $10,000. Then I would systematically go back to every single lead. I will go back and revisit those leads, and I would make sure I'd make a written offer to every single one, and I would really examine your offer price and try to up your offer. Because here's the thing I want you to understand, Anthony, is that let's say you sign a contract. Now, yesterday I went through the whole contracts and all that information. I gave you all our out clauses and stuff like that. And on Thursday I'm doing a live on Flip2Freedom fan page there. I'm doing a live, facebook.com/Flip2Freedom. I'm actually going to give you my contract. Anyways, the bottom line is that what's the worst thing that could happen, Anthony? You spent $10,000 on marketing without a deal. Anthony, what's the worst thing that could happen if you signed a contract for too high? What's the worst thing that could happen? Well, you have a 30-day inspection period, right? If you go beyond a 30-day inspection period, beyond that, and you still can't sell the property, the liquidated damages is your earnest money. If you put an earnest money of $100, you lost $100, right? What's the worst thing that could happen? The worst thing that could happen is you walk away. But now you have the opportunity to potentially get that deal and do something with it. I'll give an example. We're closing on another deal this week. The seller said they wanted $250,000 for the property, $250,000. Now, $250,000, it's a no-go for me. So you know what I told the seller? So listen, my number is like 186. But you want $250,000. If you want an absolute certainty that you want to get this deal done, I'll sign it right now, 186. I'll get it done right now. We can get it done at 186 and it's absolute certainty. But you want $250,000. Listen, let's sign it for $250,000, but it's going to be subject to me finding an end buyer. Now, what I'm going to do is I have a group of investor friends. Some of them do fix and flip. Some of them, they buy and hold. They can pay higher. Some of them do VRBOs, right? And what I'm going to do with these buyers, and I'm going to show them and talk to them about your property. Now, I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not going to represent you, but I have to have this contract, and this is going to allow me to talk to them about your property. And what's going to happen is they're going to tell me the highest, best price. They might be able to do higher than our 186, right? So guess what? We went back, we got an offer for 230. 230. They wanted 250, 230. We went back to the seller and said, listen, can't do 230, but we can do 220. Built in $10,000 profit. We're closing that this week. We turned a no deal into a deal because we signed a contract and we told them, we said, listen, my number is 186. I don't want to, offend you, but that's where we are based upon the current inventory, based where you're on the market. But the bottom line is you want 250. I can do everything in my power to try to get you 250. I'm going to try to get you 250, but I'm going to give it to all these investors and they can pay cash and they can close quick. And I'll try to get the highest number I can for you, right? Boom, 230. We contracted it back for 220. We're closing this week, make $10,000. So your $10,000 here, Anthony, contract more. Make offers on every single lead possible. If you make offers on every single lead possible, the more paper you put on the street, you are bound to get it. You can't help but get a deal. If you spend $10,000, you got leads that are sitting in your database, Anthony, right now. I would take those leads, I call them, every single one of them back, and I'd book an appointment with every single one of them, and I'd raise my offer to get the contract, and then I'd work with them to see if I could put it out to the market and sell it. And guess what? If I got an offer lower, like I did, they wanted 250, I got an offer for 230, I went back and told them 220, we can get it done next Friday, this Friday, coming Friday. They're like, done, let's get it done. And we were able to get that sucker closed. So don't miss that on. When sending RVMs text blast, have cold calls. I don't know what are you doing, but I feel like there are moments where I feel unproductive. What do you recommend to go out or do driving for dollars? The absolute fastest and easiest and most productive thing you can do if you have dead time in your schedule is get on Mojo Dialer and actually physically cold call sellers. Take the highest motivated list, which is pre-foreclosures. Skip trace that list. And when you skip trace it, IDI or skip trace list or REI Automator will give you up to 10 phone numbers. Take the first three. Take those first 3 phone numbers, and those are the ones you want to call when you're actually cold calling. You're going to have a much better contact rate with these sellers, and you can get on the phone with them. Here's what's going to happen. The more sellers you call during the downtime, it's going to sharpen your sword when it talking to sellers. Number 2, the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to get a seller on there. It's going to say, hey, I have a property I want to sell. And what you're going to do now is you're going to say, great, when can I meet you? It's 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And guess what? You're going to turn around and meet them, and you can get a contract that day. Here's the thing, is if you go out and you're driving around for dollars, not only are you wasting money on gas, but you're driving around for dollars and you only can hit so many houses and talk to so many sellers in a certain given period of time. So the most productive thing you can do on any downtime, and this is what we have our sales guys do, is we have them cold call on any of their downtime. They're going to get on the phone, they're going to get on a dialer, and they're going to cold call, and they're going to start talking to sellers, and they're going to start making offers to sellers over the phone. That is the highest, most productive thing you can do if you have any dead time in your schedule. How can I sell? Finding a retail lead. See, retail leads are difficult. I can tell you, the only way that I deal in the retail market is the down payment arbitrage, right? That's the only way I deal in the retail market. Is I get a property from a seller with a minimal down, I flip it to, and I assign it, now I don't double close it, I assign it to the retail buyer with a higher down payment, and I arbitrage the down payment, and I keep the existing loans in place. That's the only time I really deal with a retail buyer, because Most retail buyers are going to pay or buy the property with either FHA financing, a conventional loan, or whatever, and they're not going to allow on the HUD, the transaction documents, a referral fee to an unknown person, especially someone that's not a realtor. Now, if you're a realtor, then you can definitely do it, but if you don't have a realtor, you can't. When will probate be on REI Automator? Well, there's a couple other things more important than probate I know they're working on. Number one is this unknown list, and number two is this, it's like list stacking. It's taking multiple levels of motivation and putting it together into one potential list. So if you take all of Maricopa County and the millions of houses that are available right here, what are the ones are the highest motivated and why? Right here, maybe there's 20, 30, 50 of them. Well, guess what? With those 50 people that are the highest motivated, well, guess what you can do? You can turn around and you can mail them a FedEx. If you got 30, 50, 100 people, you can mail them a FedEx with a written offer in the FedEx to that seller. And that's the highest motivated seller. Why? Because they have so many different multiple levels of distress. What do you say in an email? Just say, is your house still for sale? ? Said, hey, we're looking to buy a house in your neighborhood. I was wondering if your house is still for sale. I'd like to buy it cash, no closing, and then just list all your closing costs. You don't have to pay any commissions, any real estate commissions, closing costs or fees. I can buy it as is. You don't have to fix a thing. And just write that in the email. But the question mark is going to be up there is, what is your house still for sale? ? Can someone purchase their first property using an FHA but under their LLC? No, they cannot. You have to purchase it under your name because you're going to qualify for that. What's the best skip tracing site? We use REI Automator. Inside of REI Automator, it makes it so easy because you get your list from REI Automator and you just go to skip trace, you select the list, and it skip traces the list. It's the fastest, easiest way to do it. How do you stay motivated through the struggles in the beginning? Vision. You've got to be obsessed about your goals. You have to be absolutely in it to win it, obsessed about your goals. You don't focus on the result, you focus on the process. So if you're focused on your mission and you are focused on the process, for an example, I'm at the beginning stages of my multifamily career, right? We currently own about 420 units, about $20 million worth of multifamily. I'm at the beginning stages myself when it comes to building a multifamily portfolio. My vision is to build a 10,000 unit multi-unit portfolio, right? That I can have that's going to generate $3 million a month in passive cash flow, whether I do anything or not. That's my mission. That's why I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's why I stay up late. That's my mission, right? To go out and do that. Now, the process is underwriting properties, looking at properties, making offers on properties, underwriting properties, make sure they work, and then making offers on properties. That's the process. I can't really look at the outcome. I got to be focused on the process and at the vision at hand. And if I have the vision at hand and I focused on the process every day, I'll get the result, right? And it might not be on the exact time frame that I want to, but eventually if I go and I underwrite enough properties and I make offers on enough properties, I will get to 10,000 units, right? I'm 49 now, I might be 59, but I'm going to get to 10,000 units, whatever it takes, I'm going to make it happen. The bottom line is you create the vision, you obsess on the vision, and you focus on what you're doing every single day, and you got to be consistent about that process every single day, and the result is inevitable, right? I started where I had no units. And then guess what? Then we got our first unit, right? Got our first a bunch of units out in Columbus, Ohio. Then we got another one in Waterloo, Iowa. Then now we're under escrow on another property that is in Oklahoma right now. 326 rentable units. So those 326, it's another $11 million purchase over $30 million of properties owned right now, which is phenomenal, which is going to create us and the partners, right, excluding the investors, because they're already going to make their profit, that over $860,000 a year in passive cash flow. So keep the mission. What's your mission? Get crystal clear on what you want. And what you want right now is get your first check. That's the first mission at hand. The second mission is to get 1 year's worth of income so you have the option to quit your job. Your third mission is get proficient as an entrepreneur and going out, and now you're going to start hiring a team and building the blueprint. And the fourth mission is to go out and build passive cash flow, whether you buy houses or you buy multifamily. But here's the end goal of why you're doing wholesaling. This is the end goal. The end goal is to have, let's say your lifestyle is $20,000 a month. If you said, oh man, if I made $20,000 a month, I would be ecstatic. 20 grand a month. What if you could get 20 houses paid free and clear that you're making $1,000 a month? And that was your mission. You had 20 houses free and clear. So you had a ton of equity. They were all paid off. And you made $1,000 a month each one. How much money? That's $20,000 a month. These people are paying rent every single month. Now, I like multifamily because if I have a 100-unit apartment complex and one becomes vacant, guess what? I still got 99 paying. If 10 comes vacant, I still got 90 paying. With 10 houses, if you have 5 become vacant, now you only have 5 paying. So I'd rather have that. Yeah, answer that. How do you transfer to backyard landscaping? I have no idea. How can I sell and add a fee finding a retail lead? Answer that question. How can I sell? Okay, answer that question. Same question. Give them options, but turn. Yeah, that's actually good. When you're talking to sellers and you're negotiating with a seller, if you can find what they're going to do with the equity, it's important. Now, I've met sellers before, right? And I have actually had sellers before tell me that they don't really have anything to do with the money. They don't really going to have anything for that money. And what it allowed us to do is essentially instead of a cash offer, turn it to a seller finance offer and then be able to get that deal done. Now, we got a property in Scottsdale we're working on right now where the seller wants a higher number. So it's way higher than our cash number, and our cash number's in the 330, 340 number. Right? But they want upwards to 390 to 400. How can we give them $400,000 for a property and they own the property free and clear and they don't have any place to put the money? They don't really have any place to put it and they're not going to do anything and they're not going to go spend it. They're not going to go buy another house with it. Well, guess what? The offer we're making, the way we're structuring that particular deal is we're going to do it with seller financing. We're going to create a second tier note. We're going to create a note at about 4.5%, 5%. We're going to give them $20,000 down, create that second tier, that $380,000 note on that property for the term of 5 years and be able to give them, and they're going to make payments. They're going to get payments over that term so they can actually get more by doing business with us than they can actually do with a realtor. This is a great question. 757 investor. Do you pre-qualify over the phone before going on an appointment? No, we do not pre-qualify, and here's why. A seller will not give you 100% of the information over the phone. They are going to hold their cards close to their chest, just like poker. If you ever played poker before. When you play poker, right? If you ever played poker, you're holding your cards close to a chest. So let's say I got a 7-2 offsuit, terrible hand, right? Well, I'm going to hold my cards close to my chest. Same with the seller, right? And until you meet them in person, when you meet a seller in person, eventually through building rapport with them, they're going to reveal their cards of what the real situation is. And we get more deals meeting with a seller in person that most people would pre-qualify out over the phone. Here's the thing too. if I ask you or the 80 to 60, 70 other people on this call right now, and we all talked to the same seller, and we all then sat in a focus group and we said, hey, what would you believe the seller's motivation is? And we talked to 60 different people in this focus group, and we had them all on there. Guess what? Every single person would have a different perspective on how motivated that seller is. So the problem is, it's very difficult to teach motivation. It's a lot easier to say, hey, book an appointment with every single person possible, show up on the appointment, and make a written offer. What up, what up? Okay, I'm going to try to, what's up? How can we get help? How can we help a homeowner who can't make the trustee payment for the BK? Ooh, great question. Boom, that's a great question. Dude, great question. All right. So you got a seller that's in bankruptcy. 99% of the time, a seller gets in bankruptcy because they want to save their house from a trustee sale, right? A seller goes into bankruptcy to save their house from the actual foreclosure. So knowing that, if you're asking that to the seller and they don't have a lot of other debts, and it's a Chapter 13, what you can do is you can dismiss the bankruptcy. You can dismiss the bankruptcy literally with a one-page form. You can dismiss the bankruptcy, and what you can do is then contract them with the house, get the property under contract, and then you can turn around and flip it, and hopefully they can make a profit and make some cash out of it. Most people in bankruptcy want to get out of bankruptcy. And what I found is most people file bankruptcy to stop a trustee sale. So if you can get to the root of the cause, why they actually filed bankruptcy, and then they have enough equity in the house where you can contract with them in the house, you can then dismiss the bankruptcy. That, my friends, nobody knows about. I've done probably 500 of those deals, right? Because when you're dealing with pre-foreclosures and you have a pre-foreclosure, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to file bankruptcy, and now you're going to be stuck going, what do I do? I can't do deals with bankruptcy. Yes, you can, right? They can dismiss the bankruptcy. Great question. All right, what was the difference between a subject to and an exact wrap? Another great question. All right, you're talking about two different instruments. A subject to is the way the title's transferred. So you have, they're two different, let me find out. They're two different instruments, right? Okay, this right here is a subject to. Let's call this a deed. And then an exact wrap deals with the mortgage, the underlying mortgage, right? So you have a deed and you have a mortgage. A subject to is how the title is transferred, right? And you can do a general warranty deed, a quick claim deed. You can do a grant deed. You can do what else you got? General warranty deed. You have a special warranty deed, right? So you can do, this is how title transferred by a subject to, leaving the underlying loan in place. Now you're not wrapping the loan, you're keeping the exact same terms, right? Now, this is a loan. Now, a loan, you can do, I'm taking this property, we're in an escrow. A loan, you got this loan, it's $100,000, 5% interest, $600 a month payments, 30-year term, right? You're gonna do an exact wrap. This is the new loan, you're wrapping this new loan right here. And now it's exactly, so you're wrapping exactly except the term. So it's $100,000 loan, it's $600 month payments, $500 5% interest. Instead of 30 years, you're gonna do an exact wrap for 5 years. So you're creating a new loan around that particular property. It's different from actual title being transferred, if that makes sense. Ooh. Very good question. Do you think virtual wholesaling is the future of the industry? Let's put it this way. There is something to be said about closing deals over the phone, right? But I am not 100%. We have essentially a quasi model. A quasi model meaning that we meet sellers face to face, and also we get deals over the phone. It's a quasi model between both of them. And one thing we do is if we do get a contract over the phone, we'll immediately go out and meet that seller and get that thing tied down, meet with the property, meet with the seller, walk through the property, understand, because a lot of contracts cancel if you get them over the phone. So the quasi model, in my opinion, works better, where you have people that are focused on getting properties over the phone. They're going to get a commission, but also too, they're going to tee up an outside sales guy that's going to go, and their job is to negotiate based upon the actual condition of the property, meeting the seller, and they're going to solidify that contract by building a relationship with that seller. So I think that's incredibly important. On a virtual basis, yes, you can get deals over the phone, but I highly recommend you having somebody in that particular market be the go-to guy that's going to immediately go to that seller's house, going to immediately talk to them, and their job is to negotiate and potentially get that deal at a lower price. What's the best type of list to cold call? Pre-foreclosure. Pre-foreclosure list is the best, in my opinion, call. Do you change your emotional state to get things done? Example, mad when lifting weights, joy when spending time with the kids, and so do you have a book on tactics? The best person I can recommend when it comes to changing emotional states are Anthony Robbins. Obviously, Anthony Robbins, he's the premier person when it comes to that. Here's essentially what happens is that when you think a thought, that thought creates an emotion in your heart, and that emotion creates your state, right? And also, obviously, movement, working out, and stuff like that. So what happens is if you think of thought, and it's a fearful thought, it's a doubt thought, it's a worry thought, it's a scared thought, and you have that, then it creates an emotional fear, which then creates an outbound type of fear in your life, right? So we have control in our life of literally one thing. We can't control the weather. We control our kids to a certain point. We can't control our spouses, right? That wouldn't be weird, right? But what we can control is our thoughts. We can control our thoughts. So when a thought comes up of fear, doubt, worry, anxiety, all this type of stuff, we have to be acutely aware of the thought, knowing it's going to create an emotion. And once we have that motion, we pivot from the motion, and then we can turn around and we can start thinking thoughts of success, right? Thinking thoughts of what you want, what you're grateful for, what you love, what you appreciate, and what you want more of. Focus on your goals, what you want to accomplish and what you want to do. So I think one of the best books is read The Game of Life and How to Play It. The Game of Life and How to Play It. If you go to Flip2Freedom.com, Flip2Freedom, there's a resources page. And on that resources page, I have some of the books on the bottom. Check out those books. It's called The Game of Life and How to Play It. You should check it out. The best way to get pre-foreclosures, tax delinquent, mortgage delinquent list. So mortgage delinquent list is people that are 30, 60, 90 days late. Those are very difficult to get. They call them 36, 90 days late, but they're really not really, because there's no data company that can go into someone's social security records or their credit reports and pull that information and sell it to the public, right? So that there's no such thing. But you can get a pre-foreclosure list from reiautomator.com. Tax delinquent list you can get from rebogateway.com. Now, tax delinquent list, eventually REI Automator is going to have the tax delinquent list. It's just a matter of time. It's a matter of weeks away. Mortgage delinquents, I would disregard that. What is the best place of the cold call? The pre-foreclosures. Yeah, Andy Frisella, 75 hard. He's a stud. Absolutely. 3 to 5, 10-step game plan to get started right away. Number one, get your head on straight. Number one, the biggest thing you can do is get your head on straight, and you got to make a mission with yourself that you're going to do whatever it takes. Your mission is to get your first check. I want you to write yourself a first check of $15,000. I want you to read it in the morning, read it in the afternoon. I want you to get massively obsessed that you're going to go out and you're going to get your first check. I don't care what the friends think. I don't care what your relatives think. I don't care if you have a bad day. I don't care if someone tells you you're an idiot. I don't care what the thing. I don't care if it hails when you're outside. I don't care if your phone gets turned off while you're cold calling. You're going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. Once you get your mind straight and you're absolutely committed, because here's the thing, once you're committed, then anything's going to, then what happens is the universe lines up. So, when you're committed, everything lines up perfectly, and then now you can apply massive action. Right? Massive action. Now it becomes massive action in the process. You pull the pre-foreclosure list. That's the number one thing you do, right? Then in the pre-foreclosure list, you pull all the properties that have liens over $5,000. Those are potential ones right there. Then you can pull all of those, right? Pull all those. That's a distress list. Then you can take that list and you can send a mail piece to them, a postcard, the cheapest postcard you can. You can do it out of REI Automator. If you can go to Yellow Letter HQ if you want. Send a postcard. Then you're going to turn around, skip trace the list. You can do it in REI Automator. Then you're going to get landlines and cell phone numbers. You're going to call all those landlines and cell phone numbers, right? You're going to cold call them, and you're going to ringless voicemail all the cell numbers. Those are going to get leads coming in. As those leads come in, your mission is to make offers on every single one of those leads. If you put your head down and you focus on just what I said, and you make offers on every single seller, and you leave every lead, and you ask for referrals from every lead. When you drive to their house, you drive the neighborhood looking for vacant properties, looking for trash properties, looking for for sale by owners, and looking for rent signs. If you go out there and you literally turn up the volume, do whatever it takes. Here's what I want to tell you. Let's say you have your favorite dog. You have your favorite, someone you love, right? So, whoever it might be. It might be a dog, it might be a cat, it might be your mother, it might be your brother, it might be a sister, it might be your girlfriend, it might be a wife, it might be a kid. In 30 days, they have a bomb strapped around them, right? It's a terrible analogy, but I just want to give you a visual. I just want to see what you would do. But they have some sort of something, a device, a bomb or something like that. And it's going to go off 30 days from now. And you've got 30 days to go out and get your first check. So what's your excuse? What's your excuse? You got 30 days. A seller goes, well, I tried to get a lead, but I couldn't do it. I tried to send the mail out, but it took a couple days for it to go out. I didn't want to cold call. I called for a couple hours, but the seller told me to stop calling, and I got nervous. What would you do? I mean, think about it. What would you do? Listen, if I had a loved one, and there was, God forbid, a bomb strapped around him, and in 30 days it was going off, I would do whatever it took. I would go nuts. I wouldn't sleep. I would do whatever I had to do to make sure I would win. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? There is not one excuse that someone could give you, not one excuse you could get or someone could give you, right, that would stop you from succeeding. Success would be inevitable. Why? Because you would do whatever it took. You would wake up early. You wouldn't sleep. You couldn't think straight. All you do is focus on, I have to get this first check. Why? Because I got to save my loved one. And that, my friends, if you pursue this business with that type of tenacity, perseverance, attitude, craziness, obsessive nature, you will win. Period. You will win. I'm gonna blow out my throat here. I just want you guys to understand that it doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if you come from a rich family, if you come back, like I came from a broke family. My dad didn't make no more than $40,000 a year, right? I lived in like a little shack in Vermont, for crying out loud. And if you've ever been to Vermont, you don't want to go to Vermont, right? And the bottom line is, I didn't come from money. I couldn't even make it through high school. I got C's and D's in high school. All my friends were applying to colleges at Yale and Brown and Cornell and UVM, University of Vermont. I couldn't get in, right? I took my ASVAB test to get in the Marine Corps. You know what they said? They said, we can't even have a job for you, but we're gonna make you a grunt, right? And you could be a grunt/cook. That's what I did. I sucked so bad on my stupid ASVAB test, they made me a grunt/cook, right? Because I had 0, sucked in school, bad. You know what? And I had to work on myself and read book after book after book. I still today do, right? So here's what I want to encourage you, is this. Forget your past. If you had a loved one right now that had a bomb strapped around their chest and they were literally gonna, in 30 days, there would be not one person on this, 75 people on this thing right now, that wouldn't make it happen. There was not an excuse. It doesn't matter if you're smart, if you got, on an ASVAB test and sucked and you took your SATs or ACTs or whatever and you bombed that. It doesn't matter if you came from a good background or a bad background. My dad beat me with a belt when I was a kid. I was a wreck. And guys, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you would find a way to win. And when you flip the switch and you turn up the volume and you turn up the heat and you get that committed and that passionate, success is inevitable. I'm telling you, success is inevitable. You wake up tomorrow, you'll be a different person. You wake up with a tenacity, it's a different person. What about the DNC list? Can you call that? DNC list is a gray area. I don't call the DNC list. I'd rather not. Deal Machine. Deal Machine, amazing, worth every penny. Absolutely use it. It's really good. It works. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off because I know you guys right now, you have what it takes. There's not one excuse to say you couldn't have what it takes. You have the ability, you have the smarts, you have the wherewithal, you have everything you need, and I want you to tell you this, you deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it more than you know. And here's how the thing is, I believed for so long that I didn't deserve it. I didn't deserve it, right? And the reason I believed I didn't deserve it is because I grew up in a broke and, I didn't deserve it. And the only way that you can get over not deserving it is work harder than you've ever worked before. If you worked harder than you've ever worked before, what's gonna happen is you're gonna have tons of success that's gonna hit you and you are gonna realize that you deserve it. If you put more energy, more effort, more of everything you got and everything you have, guess what? It's gonna flood to you like you've never dreamt possible. And because you put in the effort, because you put in the energy, now you deserve it. And you're gonna just relish in the success. It's gonna come like you've never thought before. And it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna crush. And you have what it takes to make it happen. So, have an amazing day. Guys, go out there and crush it and turn up the heat, flip the switch, and make it happen. God bless.